In November 2009, the tiny Gulf Emirate of Dubai became big news. Amid the global economic slowdown, a debt crisis emerged, which shook both markets and confidence to the core. Now, 1 year on, Counting the Cost returns to Dubai.
Hello, I'm Kamal Santamaria. Welcome to a special edition of Counting the Cost. We are 42 floors above Dubai, looking down on a city still recovering from the effects of last year's debt revelations. Coming up, we're out and about, we're finding out what's gotten better, what hasn't, what lessons have been learned. Plus, we speak to some of Dubai's best economic and business minds.
I'm Dan Nolan. I'll be looking at what happened next. The downturn in construction and real estate, have they bounced back or was the damage too great?
Plus, we look at Abu Dhabi, the big brother that bailed out Dubai. Some say it is the real future of the United Arab Emirates. So welcome back to Dubai, everyone. It was exactly a year ago we were standing up here just wondering, had the famous Dubai bubble really burst? There was a lot of shock, there was a lot of fear around this town after the news that the government-backed mega company Dubai World essentially couldn't pay its debts, about $60 billion worth it wanted a freeze on. Something which really came as a shock to people. They weren't expecting it. There was a feeling that this part of the world was perhaps more insulated from the global economic crisis than others. That turned out not to be the case, and in the last 12 months there's been a lot of thinking, a lot of restructuring around the Dubai dream, as it came to be known. So in this show, we're going to take you through what's happened in the last 12 months, where Dubai is at now, where Abu Dhabi's at now, the big brother which decided to step in and help out Dubai in its time of need. But we want to begin with a bit of a timeline, bring you up to speed on how Dubai World and Dubai itself got to this point. This report is from Beth Ann Howe.
Preparing for the Eid holidays in Dubai last year. As people shopped, they were unaware that the Emirate was about to become the next victim of the global economic crisis. On November 25th of 2009, Dubai World announced that its property arm, NAHYAN, would not be able to repay a bond of $4.1 billion due in December. But the really shocking part of the announcement was the request for a 6-month standstill on repayments of debt of around $60 billion. Panic-stricken markets caused shares in Dubai-linked companies to crash, and the property market was not far behind. At the last minute, neighbour Abu Dhabi came to the rescue with a $10 billion bailout. And in March this year, the Dubai government agreed a similar amount would be given to the company to help restructure its debt. Dubai World then announced a $23 billion debt restructuring plan. And by September, the company said that 99% of its creditors had agreed to new repayment terms. Dubai's ruler, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, says the Emirate is back and the projects that were already underway will be completed, if a little delayed. But this perceived good fortune is yet to filter down to the streets of Dubai. Dubai used to be a city of business opportunity and enormous tax-free salaries. Before November last year, it was almost impossible to hail one of their taxis on the street. The sheer number of people in the city meant that they were always full. Now they line up here on Sheikh Zayed, outside the hotels, where even a fare of just 10 dirhams, that's less than $3, to the nearest shopping mall is always welcome.
So Beth Ann, they're giving us a really nice idea, a very simple barometer of how well a city is functioning or not, whether people can afford to take a taxi or not. And clearly for a lot of people in Dubai that is very much a luxury still at this point. Also from this position you get a really good idea of how the city has moved on in the last 12 months. We've been telling you, we were here a year ago at the Shangri-La looking down, and you know, just looking out, first of all, the first thing you see anecdotally is that there are a lot less cranes. Dubai used to have 25% of the world's cranes working on its buildings. You just look around, you can see that is clearly not the case anymore. Now, to be fair, some projects have definitely been finished, but a lot have also been left behind, abandoned in some cases. Have a look over my shoulder here. We've got 2 buildings which there is so little activity going on, and I remember these buildings a year ago looking not dissimilar to this. Construction work has really ground to a halt here. They're going to need a lot of work to get to any usable stage, and this is something which is really replicated right across the city. So what has been going on in the last 12 months? Well, Dan Nolan looks now at the two sectors probably hit the most in Dubai, those of construction and real estate.
When Dubai World and its property arm NAHYAN spectacularly ran into debt trouble last November, many pointed at its flagship project as one of the many causes, a group of 300 man-made islands constructed in the shape of the world at an estimated cost of $14 billion. Austrian-born developer Joseph Kleindienst bought 6 islands from NAHYAN, including Austria and Germany, and was the only owner still pushing ahead with construction, as shown in this promotional video in February.
And I will live in one of these villas by end of 2010.
But that target won't be met. 2 of the islands are compacted and ready for construction, with 11 holiday villas already sold, but no building permits have been issued. Sources tell Al Jazeera that Mr. Kleindienst's project is now temporarily on hold because NAHYAN won't provide the necessary approvals. A NAHYAN spokesperson says they won't comment on individual investors' projects, but claims the world is ongoing. The world isn't Dubai's only iconic project facing difficulties. Real estate agents say the towering Burj Khalifa is less than 10% full. More huge skyscrapers are on the way. When this one is finished, Dubai will have the 2 tallest buildings in the world, but not enough demand to fill them.
The last thing that you want as a developer is to bring your product to market and find out that it's going to stand empty because there's too much supply. So we are seeing projects which have been cancelled.
In promoting a new, leaner Dubai, the government announced that half of all property projects would be cancelled. That still leaves a housing unit oversupply of tens of thousands.
Well, let's bring in Sultan AL-QASSEMI now. He's from the Dubai School of Governance to take us back, I think, a year or so ago when all this unraveled, because certainly to us looking inside from outside, it came as a huge shock.
I don't think that the same could be said for people who have been living in the UAE. A lot of us saw the construction projects being announced day after day. We remember newspapers that were literally wrapped with advertisements for projects, freeholds, and we thought that there was no end to this boom. But of course, there are always challenges when people feel that they can announce project after another. However, the surprise was the way in which it was announced. A lot of people felt that it could have been managed in a better way.
This is exactly what I was going to ask you. Let's talk about the way this was announced, the way it was handled at the time. The announcement, the debt announcement, was made just before the Eid holiday, a major Muslim holiday where you're basically off for a week. It's quite something for a company to come out and say, we've got some debt problems, but we'll see you after the holidays.
I think that that was a major drawback. I don't believe that the company that announced the standstill had coordinated with other institutions and organizations in the government. I believe that it might have been an internal decision. However, I think it would go down in history as one of the major mistakes that we have done here in the UAE.
But do you think Dubai World realizes that? Because at the time it just would release statements, it held back, certainly from the media it held back. Do you think it realizes perhaps it made an error there?
I think that the government is making them realize that. Over the last 12 months, Kamal, the government has restructured the boards of several Dubai World subsidies, including JAFZA, which is the Jebel Ali Free Zone Authority, including NAHYAN, which is a property developer firm, including Dubai Dry Docks. There's new chairman, there are new board members. So the government has really taken a proactive stance on this issue. A lot of the people who probably caused this are no longer there. Some of them have been sidelined. So I think if they haven't realized it yet, then the government is going to make them realize.
In the past year, the other thing that's happened is the restructuring. The debt has been restructured. I think the company's is probably changed in that time as well. Do you think it's actually gone some way to addressing the real problem, the root of the problem, so that this type of thing doesn't happen again?
Well, what we can say, judging from what's been happening over the last few weeks, there have been very positive signs. I mean, I'm not privy to any internal discussions, but for instance, Dubai announced a bond that was oversubscribed many times, a $1.25 billion bond in September, and they had 370 orders for it from around the world. So that's a very positive sign for Dubai. We're very happy for that. However, have the issues been addressed? I cannot say for sure. However, the government, for instance, has come out very transparent for any Middle Eastern state. I must say, Dubai government announced that about 495 projects have been cancelled out of a total of 980 that were being planned. So that's another step, I believe, towards transparency, corporate governance. A lot of people who, for instance, have been accused of corruption are being taken to court. Some people have been sidelined. So we've seen a lot of proactive actions taken by the Dubai government, and I believe that that this would probably lead to a major restructuring from within.
Okay, one final thought for you, and it's actually a quote. I can quote the ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed, who a few months ago he said, quote, "Dubai is back." Is Dubai back?
I believe it's on the way there. I believe that we're getting there. I believe that there are still some challenges. Obviously, the world economy is still going through a recession. We're part of that world economy. I believe that Dubai has its own intrinsic set of challenges that needs to be corrected. The positive signs are Emirates Airlines passenger growth has been phenomenal, 20% for any airline in the world. It's a phenomenal growth. Dubai Airport, once again, logistics re-export, all these factors that contributed to Dubai's growth prior to the real estate boom that wasn't sustainable. All this is back. So once we see that these issues have been tackled, Dubai will certainly be back.
Sultan AL-QASSEMI, pleasure having you up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamal.
When Counting the Cost returns, we look at the other side of this story. Abu Dhabi, it chose to bail out Dubai. What did it get out of it? We'll look at that and much more in just a moment. Welcome back to Counting the Cost, your weekly business stop right here on Al Jazeera, coming to you this week from Dubai. And in this half of the program, we want to shift focus, actually, have a look at a place about 150 kilometers down the road behind me, and that is Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates. And after this Dubai world drama seen by many as perhaps the savior of Dubai. Go back to November 25, of course, that was when the original announcement was made about Dubai World's inability to pay its debts. And on that day, that very day, two banks, Al Hilal and the National Bank of Abu Dhabi, immediately raised $5 billion in assistance funds. Fast forward to December, that was when the first bond was due to expire. And once again, the Abu Dhabi government this time came to the rescue with a specific $10 billion bailout. What we didn't know then, though, was that $10 billion actually included the $5 billion from earlier. That only came to light about a month later in January. Was that conservative on Abu Dhabi's part? Well, the answer to that may lie actually back in February of 2009, well before any of this drama unfolded. At that point, the UAE Central Bank was actually buying up $10 billion worth of Dubai's bonds, as it said at the time, to meet all of Dubai's upcoming financial obligations. So it wasn't a bailout in the sense of the rescue package which was unveiled post-Dubai World, but you could call it perhaps a preemptive bailout, which clearly didn't work. What all this has done, it seems, is bring the two Emirates closer together. The language we're hearing now is more about UAE achievements rather than any separate Dubai or Abu Dhabi achievements. Sheikh NAHYAN bin MUBARAK Al Nahyan is a UAE minister. He's a member of the cabinet, but more importantly, with that name, Al Nahyan, he is a member of the Abu Dhabi royal family. Dan Nolan sat down with him for a Counting the Cost exclusive interview in which he began by asking how he thought Dubai had handled the crisis.
Dubai should be admired how it handled this issue when it came. It was not easy. It was a colossal issue, and I think it was dealt with professionally, adequately, timely, and we see now the result of it, that we see a very strong and positive indications of not only the stability of the situation, but the improvement of it. Dubai done well. It came out of it when everybody doubted them. Of course, Abu Dhabi, as has been indicated by the leadership, has stood by Dubai and will stand by Dubai.
Was there ever any question that Abu Dhabi would step in with financial assistance?
Not as far as the leadership here is concerned.
Do you think Abu Dhabi and Dubai have been brought closer together through this?
Of course, when, as it happens everywhere, when there is a crisis or an issue, you will see the bond that unite people together. And I think this crisis which went through, it really, which was good in the sense it showed the strength of this unity and the strength of the commitment of the Abu Dhabi leadership and Dubai leadership to work together to face these issues and come out of it stronger. And that was a very clear indication of the strength of the union and the solidarity of the relationship between its members, and particularly Abu Dhabi and Dubai.
Have there been any lessons learned from all of this?
We learn every day. We learn from our, they say there's no mistakes, there are lessons to be learned from. Definitely we learned. We learned many lessons, and as I said, these lessons will make us also stronger in facing future issues and make it difficult to get into the situation again.
So Sheikh Nahyan talking about Abu Dhabi and Dubai working together then, which is quite true, but really you can't underestimate the stamp that Abu Dhabi has put on this city, on Dubai. To do that, look no further than over the road there. A year ago, we were calling that building Burj Dubai at over 800 meters. It's the biggest building in the world, an absolute landmark for Dubai. And yet come January the 4th of 2010, we had this magnificent opening ceremony. There were fireworks in the sky, live pictures broadcast all over the world. There was a surprising name change. No longer were we calling it Burj Dubai, it was inaugurated as Burj Khalifa, named after the current president of the United Arab Emirates, but perhaps more importantly in this context, the ruler of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Khalifa. Now, as it happens, he, Sheikh Khalifa, and Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai, had a special guest coming through the United Arab Emirates. The United Kingdom's Queen Elizabeth II made her first trip to this part of the world in 30 years, which really tells you something about how important the United Arab Emirates as a whole is becoming on the global stage. Dan Nolan has this report.
The year is 1979 and a very powerful woman arrives in a land dominated by powerful men. Dug from the United Arab Emirates archive, this video shows the last time Queen Elizabeth II visited the country. Thousands lined the streets to cheer the royal visit in a landscape that has changed dramatically, with the world's tallest skyscrapers now filling the once sparse horizon. The 1979 visit came amid turbulent times. The Iranian Revolution had just begun, but the Queen insisted on visiting several Gulf states using her royal yacht Britannia. In Britain's age of austerity, no such grand plans this time, just a 2-day visit in Abu Dhabi before another 3 days in Oman. So why has it been 31 years between royal visits? Well, it all boils down to money. The Gulf states are now dripping with wealth Queen Elizabeth can only dream of, and the new British government is pushing to increase trade ties with this region.
Well, joining us up here on the balcony on this very hot Dubai day is Mark Townsend. He's a journalist based here in Dubai who's reported extensively on the Dubai World Story. Thanks for coming up, Mark. As much as the Dubai World Story is a Dubai story, it's an Abu Dhabi story, or became an Abu Dhabi story as well, didn't it? It's a tale of two cities, if you like.
It is very much a tale of two cities, in fact, Kamal. And the actual situation with Abu Dhabi and Dubai, historically, Abu Dhabi has been the city which is associated with the cultural dimension. But in the last few years, Abu Dhabi's tried to emulate Dubai to a large extent. The real estate sector, it's now going into financial services. So those edges are becoming increasingly blurred. But now I think there is something of a retrenchment in Abu Dhabi as well. It's got a convergence of a number of issues, which also means that it must focus its attention and use its very, very hardly won prized assets very, very specifically.
But is Abu Dhabi seen as any of a safer bet than Dubai? If a foreign investor looking at this part of the world, at the Emirates, at the whole Gulf, are they going to look at Abu Dhabi and think, well, that's a safer place for me to put my money in than Dubai?
The quality of Abu Dhabi's assets are second to none. In fact, recently in the last few days, one of the major rating agencies has given it a AA rating, which signifies that it is very, very safe. What we have to bear in mind in this area, an unavoidable fact, inescapable fact, is the geopolitical situation. But I think Abu Dhabi has been associated with great planning in its sort of counter-cyclical economic policies which have stood the test of time. It's managed to hold this economy together very, very well. It's poised, it's got a lot of demands. That's the thing which is a slight concern, I think.
All right, let's bring it back down Sheikh Zayed Road here, back to Dubai. The issue of this sort of thing happening again. There will be more debt to mature. There could be more problems of maturing debt that can't be paid. Have enough lessons been learned to stop this sort of thing happening again?
Well, I think a number of lessons have been learned from Dubai World, and I think it's correct to say that Dubai earned a lot of plaudits for the way it exited the restructuring plan. It was done in a containable period of time. It was done with a lot of planning. There was not too much leaks to the media, and the story that was put out was very, very well managed. The problem going forward now is a fundamental problem, is trying to finance long-term projects with short-term financing. That means in 2011, Dubai has something like $17 billion of debt maturing. So it means that signifies that the next year, the next 18 months, there's going to be no silver bullet.
But the fact is, the rest of the world is still in trouble. You only need to look at Europe now, Greece, Ireland, the UK, all these places which are struggling with austerity measures. People aren't going to be wanting to pump money into this part of the world at the moment.
I'm not sure that's true. I think that the long-term story of Dubai, in fact, Dubai is almost a tale of two cities in itself. On the one hand, you have a broad array of impressive companies, household names such as Emirates, Dubai Duty Free, Jebel Ali Free Zone, DP World. These are internationally recognized companies. On the other hand, Kamal, you've got a situation with a very sprawling real estate sector, which is largely is a mismatch between supply and demand, and you've also got a high debt problem. And the quicker Dubai can bring itself back to what it does so very well, the logistics, the services hub, I don't see any other GCC state rivaling Dubai for that for some time to come. It's all a question of how Dubai manages the situation going forward. At the moment, I think they're poised very well.
Now finally, there was one story we really wanted to get while we were here in Dubai, and it was really based on a rumour. We'd all heard these stories about people who'd left their jobs in Dubai and just abandoned their cars at the airport on the way out. Where are they now? Well, they're certainly not at the airport. We didn't see them there, but we did track them down. Have a look.
Next to Dubai's main highway and just metres from a major shopping mall is an apparent car graveyard. In it, thousands of vehicles not driven in months, many with a series of numbers scrawled on their windows. We can't confirm if all these cars were abandoned at Dubai Airport and transported to this point, but with up to 1,500 foreign worker visas cancelled every day at the height of the crisis, some of their footprints are still clearly here.
And that is just about it for this week. Don't forget to check us out online. Go to the main page at aljazeera.net/English. Click on the business tab. That'll take you to our Counting the Cost page. We'll pop this show up there in full, along with previous episodes and blogs. You can catch up with all that there. Plus, we're on Twitter, of course, at AJ Counting Cost is the name to look for. We added a whole bunch of new followers this week here in Dubai, which is really great. We'd love to hear from you. The easiest way to get in touch with us is on Twitter. But that is it for this edition of Counting the Cost. I'm Kamal Santa Maria from the whole team here in Dubai. Thanks for joining us. The news on Al Jazeera is next.